So this video will be looking at ctenophorans or ctenophora, and this is the final lecture of this unit. So ctenophora, and I gave you a nice pronunciation there, more for myself than for you. These are comb-bearing jellies. They're composed of approximately 150 species, all marine. Some common names for them are the sea walnut or the comb jelly. All of these, but a few, are free swimming, and they have bilateral symmetry, which is a more complex trait, and they have two tentacles for capturing prey. So a little bit more about their feeding. They have the combs along the side. You can really see these combs really well here, and they have the tentacles, and the prey are caught in cells on the tentacles and the combs called colloblasts, and basically it's like glue cells, and these glue cells then are used to keep that prey, like plankton and that little stuff, and then they kind of wipe their tentacles across their mouth to get the plankton off of there. um, and some of these actually are predaceous as well, and they will eat fish and things like that, as you can see here, and they will actually eat each other. So they're cannibalistic, and whatever they come in contact with, they kind of have a trigger mechanism like other jellies, and they just will try to eat it. They'll eat other cnidarians as well. So a little bit about their nervous system. They have very similar to cnidarians, the kind of the nerve net. They have in their combs, they have concentrated nerves, and so they use them to move, and they also have bioluminescence. So when they light up at because of the movement, they'll kind of refract the light in different, and they're very colorful organisms, very sensitive to chemical and physical stimuli as well. Again, for that predaceous, they don't have eyes or anything, so they have to be very sensitive to that sort of thing. As far as reproduction, these are monoecious organisms, so they have both male and female reproductive organs, and so they can reproduce sexually in that way. They can also reproduce through asexual means like budding. So a little bit about the phylogeny of cnidarians and ctenophores. Um, there's obviously a distinction between them, and there's even some debate on whether or not ctenophores are even more primitive than sponges, and being the most primitive types of animals. Um, and you start to see some, these are diploblastic organisms, but in some, there's kind of blurring the lines with the triploblastic organisms as well, as you have some of those muscle tissues and whatnot as we look through there. Here you can see hydrozoa being the very simplest kinds of these. And then as you get more, a more complicated gastrovascular cavity, you have these two groups kind of splitting off, and then anthozoa being the most complex of these because it loses the medusa stage and is kind of able to um, live on the ground. And so again, um, all four successful, but this kind of shows the change over time. And this shows you their place on, with all animals. Sponges being the most primitive thing we've talked about, but again, there is some debate that ctenophores are perhaps more primitive than that, but they still are, have been around a long time. Jellies, and according to this particular phylogenetic tree, jellies and ctenophorans have a relatively recent split off. So again, something that's still up for debate, but this is kind of where we go with in this course.